Hello and welcome to anyone out there on the line. We are waiting for just a couple of moments for folks to join, and we'll get started at maybe 1 or 2 past the bottom of the hour. Thank you all. All right, I'm seeing some folks come on the line, so let's go ahead and get started. We may have some others joining us as we move along. But again, hello and welcome to everyone. My name is Brooklyn Calvin. I am with Eviden, and I look after our North American Google Business Group. I am pleased to welcome with us today, Rob, if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide, my wonderful trusted colleague, Rob Duffy. He's the Google Cloud Group Business CTO. I'll do a quick intro in a moment. And really what we want to do today is look at the process and benefits of what we do when we migrate VMware workloads to Google Cloud. And one thing I really want to mention, and that Rob will definitely call out, is the differentiators. I'm often asked in my role, well, what makes Google different? What makes Google better? And this is one of those items. So we're going to unstick your cloud transformation. And there are 3 sort of sections of the presentation we'll be looking at today. One, I'll cover very quickly the Google partnership that Eviden has. Rob is going to be the smart person on the call, talking through the actual subject matter you came to hear, and we do have some next steps. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started with the agenda. Overall, the Google Eviden partnership, I personally have been part of it for about 10 years. And what is Eviden? This is another question we get a lot. The way I like to describe it is that Eviden is a business that is a carve out from Atos. What happened was we went out and we purchased a number of smaller cloud companies to form our cloud arm, and that is the business unit in which I reside. And what that brings to market for us is the mentality of those niche partners with the startup innovation and agility with the scale of our traditional GSI. So we are truly a consulting firm. We can back it up with GDCs. And then on the right, I won't read you through the results, but a long and very fruitful partnership. As again, will be outlined in the next slide. There are a number of partner awards that Google gives out each year. I don't want to say this with certainty, I'll say it without certainty. I think we've won about every one of them, except for those that are net new, and we're very proud of our partnership with Google. And I also wanted to mention that we just do a lot of work in the Google space. Rob and I tend to joke around about this next slide that you're going to see. It is our portfolio slide, and I dislike it because it's very busy, but Rob likes it, and I'm willing to concede the point because it does show that when you're thinking about Google Cloud, we can pretty much do it, right? Including the VMware piece that we're going to talk about today. So across data, security, infra, and app mod, everything we do, I mean, it's something we need to actually focus on a little bit more. And then where do we do it? I mean, everywhere. We work with Fortune 500 companies. We've worked with startups. We do a lot in the HLS space, the TMT space, the RNS space. But again, I will shut up because you're not here about our accolades, though we have them. And I'm going to hand it over to Rob to start talking about GCVE. Rob, floor is yours.
Thank you, Brooklyn. I really appreciate that great introduction, and for both the business that Eviden has and our shared partnership with Google. It's really been a fruitful partnership for us and for our customers as we take all the technology and innovation that Google has developed, and really where Eviden fits in is how do we figure out how do we take that innovation and make it useful for customers within their businesses? And so in one example, a great example of this, of how Google has innovated, not just in the technology aspect space, but the business case space is with GCVE. And really what I'm going to hope to go through over the next few slides is talk about how GCVE can really help a business transform themselves and do it faster, right? Everybody wants to become a cloud native organization, but how do you get there in a way that's quick, low risk, and allows you to really be flexible? And so I'm going to use a case study of a customer that we helped through this type of transition. The lawyers tell me I can't use their actual name, so I'm just calling them The Mart. And really, The Mart is an international retailer who's has a well-known brand. They're a household name in Europe, but The Mart is starting to move into North America. And being in retail, they have to contend with seasonal perks, needing high availability, replicating data across zones, and other challenges that companies like them deal with. And then, like the vast number of customers and companies that have been in business for 15 years or so, they have a very extensive VMware estate, and most of their applications are running on the VMware platform. However, due to recent, did my screen just stop sharing?
We've still got it up, Rob.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. So, sorry, my screen just kind of went a little wild there. So due to recent turbulences for VMware with their acquisition of Broadcom, the licensing costs for many customers has increased or will increase as they start to renew their licenses. And so this has prompted a lot of businesses, and businesses like in the Mart in particular, to look at new opportunities for innovation. And so, however, when they're trying to do this type of transformation, there's a lot of questions that come up, and there's a lot of different sets of opinions. And so, for the C-level executives, they want to innovate at lower costs, but then ops teams, they have a different set of agenda to reduce complexity and lower the risk of running the IT estate. And so those C-level executives, they're really focused. They were focused on the growth and speed. They wanted the Mart to lead the industry. They wanted to see the cloud and use the cloud as an enabler for that business and to really drive innovation. And so they wanted that kind of complete transformation into a cloud-native organization that was agile and was using all the new features of the cloud, like AI, machine learning, and all the new data platforms. While the ops team, on the other hand, they were really focused on how can they reduce risk, how can they minimize downtime. All that transformation and all that change at once really creates a lot of anxiety for the ops team and really introduces a lot of risk for the business. And so the idea was how can they balance those? And the common questions that both teams were asking was, how fast can I migrate to the cloud? How disruptive will it be for the business? Will we incur downtime? How will my team learn to run everything in the cloud? How can they reskill so that those applications, they can manage those applications in these new cloud environments, right? And so those types of questions, that's what we helped the Mart with. And really where we ended up is, helping them create a business plan that addressed their immediate needs, which were, that they wanted to migrate now. They wanted to get to the cloud quickly and not over several years. They didn't want to spend their whole time modernizing, but never really getting the value of the cloud while they're doing it. They needed to avoid downtime. They were a business that needed to be responsive to their customers. And so those, were the types of things that their immediate migration needs. They also had challenges with their applications. A lot of their application were consumer off-the-shelf type of applications or COTS applications that you couldn't modernize, right? And so they had to really just lift and shift those. And so how could they move those quickly and not spend, waste too much time worrying about those. And so the solution that we came up with using GCVE really, reduced the confusion, provided a sound business plan, and allowed them to get to the cloud really quickly. And so let me explain a little bit about what GCVE is. So GCVE stands for Google Cloud VMware Engine. And what it does is really helps you lift and then modernize once you're in the cloud. You can take your VMware environment as it is today with all the process, all the networks, all the components that you already have built and you've developed over the last decade or so of using VMware. You can pick that up and move it into the Google Cloud. Google Cloud VMware Engine is a container within the VMware environment that runs bare metal servers that have VMware installed on them so that you can run the same VMware environment that you're running on premise. You can now run that in the cloud. So all the same skills that you have apply, all the same processes that you have apply, all the same settings and configurations that you have apply in that new environment now running in the cloud. And this really provides a new level of flexibility for customers because once they're in the cloud, they then have access to all the Google Cloud native services so that they can begin to transform over time once they get there. And those new cloud services include the AI services like Vertex AI, all the cloud databases like BigQuery and Cloud SQL, so that over time and opportunistically, you can start that modernization process. The innovation that Google has developed and what one of the differentiators for them, and we'll talk a lot more about this later, is around the licensing. And so Google has made the licensing of this type of transition very easy for businesses. And so, that becomes one of the key use cases for customers as they start to think about their environment and when and where they can utilize GCVE, right? So one of the most common use cases we see is in a cloud migration. Customers like the Mart, right? They needed to and wanted to get out of the data center business. They're a retailer. They shouldn't be managing data centers. And so they want to move as quickly and seamlessly as possible to the cloud. And so this is what GCVE can provide, that quick and seamless migration. Other use cases include data center extension. And so in the case of the Mart, they were centrally located in Europe, but they were starting to expand out into North America. And so instead of building another data center, we're buying a bunch of hardware to rack in a colo. They were able to utilize GCVE in Google's global data center network to expand into new territories. Disaster recovery is another common use case here. So customers, they may still run their on-prem environment, but they want to be able to utilize the cloud in case of a disaster and be able to seamlessly switch from that on-prem environment to the cloud. And because the GCVE environment is based on VMware, you can use VMware's DR capabilities, which are native and built right in. And so those become, your GCVE becomes your disaster recovery site. Application modernization is another use case that we see a lot because it allows, by moving to GCVE, you are in the same data center as all the Google services like Kubernetes, like all the next-gen services I mentioned earlier. And then finally, virtual desktops, right? You can do any of the VMware virtual desktop technology. You can apply that in the GCVE environment as well. And so this allows you to run those desktops in close proximity to the applications that you have. And so the idea in what this methodology is really lift, then transform, right? And so this gives the kind of a 1-2 step to get into the cloud first and then begin to use those cloud environments. And so the lift part of this is really, taking that environment that you have. So this on-prem VMware stack, you're essentially picking it up as it is. You don't have to make a lot of disruptive changes, and you're moving it into the VMware engine that's part of Google Cloud. And when you do that, you reduce the time it takes to make that migration. You reduce the risk. You don't have to reskill all your staff in order to move into the cloud. And then you can easily complete these types of migrations. At Evident, we've developed a set of tools that help us evaluate a customer's environment very quickly, and then execute the migration at scale, and can do it in a very automated way. And so this is, we call it our Cloudimize Studio Migration Suite. And it allows us to conduct these types of migrations very, very quickly with little risk to your business and get you into the environment so that you can start modernizing. The other advantages of doing this type of lift is you don't have to waste a lot of money on running two environments at the same time. So by picking up your environment, your on-prem environment, and moving it to the cloud in this way, you can shut down your on-prem data center, and you don't have to run two concurrent data centers if you did a more of a slower modernization approach to migration. So this allows you to de-risk those migrations. It gives you more functionality, and the licensing, which we'll talk a little bit and talk more about in a little bit, is very favorable for this type of motion. And then once you're in the cloud, then you can start to transform, right? And now you have the capability to connect into all the other services that Google has. And so these VENs, or VMware Engine Networks, handle all the connections to and from your private cloud according to a network policy that you define for your own organization. And this allows you to create very secure networks and connectivity to these advanced services from Google, and making this environment much more secure and more performant. So those are direct connections into all of Google Cloud services, and they're giving you high-speed access. And it will accelerate and reduce performance risks of your applications that are running in the VMware engine. And we are not able to have a webinar without mentioning AI, right? And so this is something that every business is trying to accomplish. How can they get and start to utilize the AI services that are popping up everywhere? And how do they compete with their competitors who are deploying AI into their own applications? And for the Mart, this was really important. They wanted to be able to offer their customers these AI chatbots that could help their customers find information about their products, provide customer service, and get information from their operational databases, and provide business analytics. So AI can help with all those challenges, but the problem a lot of businesses face is their environments are not necessarily ready to connect into these AI environments. And so you need to have your data in close proximity to these AI services. And so by moving to VMware Engine and GCVE, you're able to get those data sources, the customer content, the private data. You're still maintaining control of it in the same way that you do today, but you're much closer to those AI services like Vertex AI, where you can build those conversational AI chatbots. You can do enterprise search. You can get business analytics, and also the large LLM models, right? So the way that this particular environment worked for the Mart is, they were accessing the Gemini large language models, but then they were utilizing local data stores that they could do RAG or retrieval augmented generation capabilities for, so that they could ground the answers that their chatbots gave in their own data, right? So now you can, but do so in a way that's more secure and keeps tighter control over your data and who has access to it and how that data is used in those AI applications. And Google becomes the obvious choice for AI. Out of all the hyperscalers, Google really is the one provider that can provide that full stack solution at scale, right? So, and Forrester, ranks Google above Amazon, above AWS, really above all the other hyperscalers in every way, across all these dimensions, because Google has their own hardware, they have their own platforms, they have their own models, they have their own services. And so all of those, bringing all those together into one place allows customers to really move their AI roadmap forward faster. But they have to be, in the Google Cloud to really take advantage of that. And that's the big blocker for a lot of businesses, is they're not able to get there, quick enough to take advantage of that. And GCVE allows you to do that without having to wait and do a lot of modernization work in order to get into the cloud. And one of the questions I always get is, why would you use GCVE? Why not just go directly to Google Compute Engine and use the cloud native instances? And there is, in some cases that makes sense, but for the MART and for a lot of other customers, these were some of the biggest challenges of doing so. And these types of things are the things that really slow down that migration process. And so the idea that reskilling your entire staff to utilize the cloud, that's really challenging. It's really challenging, and it's a little daunting for a business to try and take on at the same time that they're moving all these applications. So now you're introducing change in the technology stack and organizational change, which becomes very challenging and something that a lot of businesses fail at. And so by moving into the cloud, but not necessarily changing the entire technology stack, allows your team to continue to use the skills that they already have, and then start to learn those new skills over time. Technical aspects are, that the business is often, the different applications can't go to the cloud, whether it's, they need to manage or maintain control over different drivers, different tools. They can't have any downtime, or they have limited amounts of downtime that they can provide. And so doing a modernization really would, disrupt the business or introduce a lot of risk into the business. And so, those technical aspects prevent some applications from, being considered for a cloud native type of migration. Licensing kind of goes along with that, is where you could have licensing that doesn't allow you to use cloud native instances, and so you need to maintain and have bare metal control over your environment. You would get that as part of the GCVE migration. And then finally, a lot of businesses don't want to avoid lock-in. Sorry, so they really want to have the flexibility to move their environments where they think they're going to run the best, or where it's makes the most sense for their business. And so they don't want to do that full integration into the cloud native instances, because then that becomes an impediment to do something else. And so they're really trying to keep their options open, and this gives them one way to do so. VMware can be moved back on-prem if customer wanted to, or they could move to even another hyperscaler if that was something that they were interested in. So this gives them some options. And so, one of the advantages that Google has, so there are other, with Azure and AWS, they have the capability to run VMware in the cloud. And so they have their own version of that. The one thing that Google does that's very different, that no other cloud provider can do, is offer license portability. So if you have a license for the VMware Cloud Foundations, you can run that license in your own data center on-prem, or you can take that same license and move it to Google Cloud. And so this is a capability that no other hyperscaler cloud can offer. It's only offered by Google Cloud in the licensing arrangement that they've worked out with Broadcom. And so this portability extends, to add-ons. So if you've bought the different management suites from VMware, you can bring those into the cloud as well. And this allows you to really, execute the cloud and enter into the cloud in your own way, and to protect your financial interests at the same time. So, the bring your own license is a new capability that's only available to Google customers. And you can, like I said, use that same license in your own data center or into the cloud. You can also kind of go back and forth. And so you're able to, if you want to run those two concurrent environments, you can buy one set of licenses. And as your environment moves, whether it's slow or fast, as it moves into the cloud, you're able to use the same licenses in the cloud. And if you buy your licenses through a partner like Evident or through Google, you can then get significant discounts with the reserved instances that Google has. And so the committed use discounts that Google offers. So now if you commit to 3 years of utilization with Google GCVE, you can get a significant discount, almost 50% off the licensing cost. And so this is, makes the licensing for GCVE very cost effective for businesses. And this is a big reason why a lot of enterprise businesses are looking at GCVE now, is because there is so much disruption in the licensing caused by Broadcom. So, a lot of businesses are finding out that the old licensing SKUs that they previously bought from VMware are no longer available from Broadcom. And the pricing that they were getting from VMware is really going to change significantly when they have to go and deal and negotiate with Broadcom. So these are, reasons and triggers why people are thinking about other ways. And, with the licensing, if you buy it from Google in this time, you're able to move that licensing and use it in a much more flexible way, whether that's on-prem or in the cloud. So how do you get started with GCVE? And we've found that, it can really help navigate those migration challenges, right? So the lift to cloud, you can feel confident about the migrations. At Evident, we have really a data-driven approach to migration, where we collect all the information about your environment and use that information to automate the actual migration. And so that allows us to move at scale and at speed. You can leverage existing strategies that in skills that you have without the lock-in. You can easily, and then when you get to the transformation part, once you're in the cloud, now you have access to all the cloud services, so that you can easily build, scale your applications, you can innovate faster, and you can evolve your business with Google. As Google introduces new innovations in the future, you'll be there to take advantage of them right away. And most businesses have found that this is it has had a meaningful impact to their business, right? So it's 50% faster migrations. They see a boost of efficiency of their IT staff, because they're no longer managing the underlying hardware. They can just focus on the applications and figuring out new ways to innovate to help connect with customers in better ways. And finally, with the licensing, you can really lower your total cost of ownership, or ROI, because you're able to use those licensing advantages that GCVE provides, and you're able to also modernize your environment over time and get that true ROI of a cloud native transformation. And so, finally, here's some, again, some stats about how this really helps, lower costs. It helps with operational and business agility, giving you flexibility and choice as you get to the cloud, and doing so faster, and really unsticks that transformation program. So if you're stuck trying to figure out what to do, which applications to modernize, how long is it going to take? How am I going to reskill my team? And all that is preventing you from really kind of, utilizing and accessing the true power of cloud computing. This is a way to get there, and the way to get into the cloud so that you can start utilizing those cloud services as quickly as possible. And the path for it kind of looks like this. And for us, again, it is quick. You'll see here, these are all in days, not in months, not in years. With a lot of migration programs, it takes a long time to get to the point where you're actually seeing value come back. For this, we can actually do it very quickly. We can create a vision and a business case. We then do a quick assessment, gathering information about your environment. We have automated tools to help us do that. And then we use that information to, create that migration plan very quickly. So within a month, we're able to kind of really get to the point where we're ready to start building and start moving. Right? We build out that roadmap, we build your landing zone in the cloud, and then we get right to moving applications so that you can take advantage right away. And you're in the cloud, so that transformation's happened, but you're still utilizing all the services and skills in VMware that you've invested in over time. So this is how we're able to move you very quickly. And then after that, within a month or so, we're able to get you to the cloud, and then you can start that transformation process almost immediately. You can start using all the other Google AI services, the database services, the DR, the management services, security services like Chronicle. All these things become available to you, right out of the gate with once you're into the GCVE environment. So with that, I'll leave this slide up, but hopefully that was a really quick understanding of how GCVE can help you create transformation and unstick your transformation program within your business. And if there's any questions, I haven't really been watching the chat, so if any questions came in, I can answer them now.
And I must admit, I was remiss in the beginning of our session by not mentioning that we have a questions area, a questions pod, I think I'm calling it. If you have any questions, please submit them there. Rob, it looks like a few people did find their own way there. So I can read out a couple of questions to you if that's good.
Yeah.
So it sounds like there are a lot of different use cases for GCVE. Is there anything in summary I should be looking for in my business or in an organization where this technology is most applicable?
Yeah, so we've found that the businesses, and this is true in the Mark, but also other businesses that we've talked to about this, is there's generally some kind of event that's on the horizon that is going to force the business to make a change, right? And so where the status quo becomes not available. we've found, especially in the last year, the licensing renewals of VMware is one of those events where they are now negotiating with Broadcom. Broadcom has made a lot of changes to the product catalog of VMware. They've reduced and removed a lot of SKUs, and they've combined a lot of services into a smaller set of SKUs. So before at VMware, you could mix and match which licenses you wanted, and you could really tailor your licensing spend to exactly what you needed. Now they've kind of packaged things up, but that's also increased the cost. So you're actually required to buy a license that might have services that you may not need, and this is increasing your cost. And so a lot of businesses are thinking about, like, okay, how can I get off of this this licensing carousel, and how do I go and find a way to start the modernization process in the cloud? And so this is a bridge that allows those businesses to do that. So they can take this event that's happening, their licensing, or it could be a hardware refresh, or it could be a data center lease ending. But whatever that trigger is, this allows you to move very quickly to make this change into the Google Cloud, but still utilizing all the same services, skills, procedures that you've developed with VMware over time. You're still using that. It's just now in a different place. So you're able to, answer whatever that trigger event is and respond to that, but respond to it in a way that gives you a lot more flexibility in the future.
Thank you, Rob, for that thoughtful answer. I appreciate it. A couple more trickled in here. Rob, I know you talked about a number of differentiators for Google in this space. Someone's wondering, is there the one? What is the biggest differentiator for Google in this space? Do you have a response to that?
Yes, it is the licensing, right? So the other hyperscalers have the ability to run VMware in their cloud. I do think AWS is sunsetting theirs, but they can right now. They have a service that allows you to run VMware in AWS. But what they don't have is the license portability, right? So if you buy a license today from VMware, you can't use that in AWS or Azure. You can use that in Google. Likewise, if you buy your GCVE licensing from Google, you can use that same license on-prem. And so this gives you a lot of functionality and flexibility to really plan your migration to the cloud. So you're going to be using those same licenses. You're not going to waste money buying licenses that you may not need. And so generally what we see for customers is year one, they buy their licenses for VMware through Google. And this gives them the flexibility to buy those licenses at a low cost with a discount. And then they can still use those licenses on-prem. At some point during year one, they begin to migrate into the cloud. And again, it's the same license that they're using in the cloud. And then in years 2 and 3, they begin that modernization process. So then they start utilizing Vertex AI. They start utilizing the database services. And then this allows them to draw down and reduce the VMware GCVE environment as they start to utilize those new and more advanced cloud native services.
Sorry, I'm a little slow to find my unmute button there, but sorry, Rob, you had an additional thought?
I was just going to say, and just to wrap it, that is something that no other hyperscaler can really offer, and VMware can't offer on their own, right? So, the only way you can really get that is buying those licenses through Google, right? So that you can then start that process of migrating to the cloud.
Awesome. So that actually takes us to the end of our submitted questions here, Rob. Just in closing, are there any final words that you would want to leave us with?
Yeah, I think, I think GCVE in the way this lift then transform methodology can be really impactful for businesses who are struggling to really get their transformation started. Maybe they've moved a couple of things, but it's gone a lot slower than they've wanted to. They really haven't seen value come back out of the cloud, and they're wondering, like, how do they get to that point where they are starting to see value? And this is how GCVE really shines, because it gives customers the ability to get into the cloud, and then over time, that's when they can start to do those transformation elements, and it becomes a lot easier when you're already in the cloud, right? And they're seeing competitors of theirs kind of pass them by in some ways, right? Like they're doing new AI services, and you're wondering, how can I do that? How do I get access to this? Well, you need to be in the cloud, and in the cloud services with your production apps and data, right? So that you can start to utilize that production data in those AI services. And so, for me, that's the biggest thing that this can help those businesses, is make that transformation leap by doing it in this lift and transform methodology. So,
Perfect.
and I just want to say I appreciate everybody's time. Thank you for listening today. And if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. And I hope everyone has a great day.
Great. That'll take us to the end. Thanks, everyone, for your attendance today. Please reach out to Rob or myself with any questions or any opportunities that you may have for GCVE. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.